When I was a kid, I used to go to dinosaur-themed summer camps because I was just such a cool and popular kid. These camps lasted about a week, and usually on one night of the camp, there would be a movie night. And sometimes, it was a movie called Evolution, released in 2001. I remember I liked this movie as a kid, but I always thought it was very weird, and I completely forgot about its existence until a few months ago. Randomly, with no prompting, this movie decided to just manifest the memories of its existence in my brain, and I decided to give it a rewatch, and boy did I not remember it at all. This movie is directed by Ivan Reitman, the original director of Ghostbusters, which this movie serves as a sort of spiritual successor to. That's fun, I guess. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Ghostbusters. I've seen the first one, and I remember I liked it, but I haven't seen it in like 15 years, and I barely remember it. I've never seen the second one, but I remember watching the animated series as a kid, but again, I don't remember it. The newest one was fine, but hot take, the 2016 one was very bad. So keep in mind that I have no nostalgia for Ghostbusters tainting my thoughts on Evolution. This movie stars David Duchovny of X-Files fame, Orlando Jones, and Julianne Moore of... Oh god.
No.
Not again.
Wait.
I'm not strong enough.
Wait.
So today I figured we'd watch this movie together, because I need to make a new video, because I haven't made one in... Ooh, that's a long time. Oops. Anyways, let's all just stop wasting time with the obligatory intro, and let's just jump right into it. So the movie opens on an asteroid flying through space, heading towards the Earth. On the ground, there's a guy driving around singing to himself or whatever, and he's dressed as a firefighter. He decides to grab his sex doll out of the back of his car, toss it into a little shed, and light it on fire just to save it. And then the asteroid slams into his car or whatever for comedic effect, and also to kickstart the plot. After the title card, we cut to a college campus where David Duchovny is a prof, and is handing back papers to his class. David Duchovny plays Ira Kane, a name I only remember because it is funny. He brags about being single, which is odd, and apparently everyone got an A except for these two bozos, who had written this as their paper.
Allow me to share something with the entire class. Last night as I was grading papers, I came across two gems, both entitled Cells Are Bad, and both with just one paragraph, which I unfortunately committed to memory. Cells are bad. My uncle lives in a cell. It's 10 foot by 12, and he has to read the same old boring magazine every day. The end.
And he still gave him a C. Goddamn, that is one generous prof. I wish I had more profs like him. Except he does publicly roast them in front of the whole class, so I guess you win some and lose some. We then cut to another prof named Harry, played by Orlando Jones, who's a geologist talking to a dumb student who wants to be a nurse but is failing geology. Harry gets a phone call about the asteroid and then goes to check it out with Ira, because Harry apparently isn't really a scientist. It's not really explained why. The two show up to the crash site, and Harry is dripped the fuck out. Goddamn, you did not have to go this hard on the outfit. The asteroid is apparently punched into a cavern, and the firefighter guy is still at the crash site. He's gonna come in and out of the movie, and he's the worst character and I hate him, so I'm not going to remember his name, and he will be referred to as firefighter guy for the rest of this video. Ira and Harry go into the cave where some cops are dicking around taking pictures or whatever, and there seems to be some stuff growing on the rock and some weird liquid bleeding out, which is not normal. They take some samples or whatever and head back to the lab, and Ira starts messing with the samples while Harry goes off and coaches a volleyball game for some reason. But lo and behold, Ira finds bacteria inside the sample that is dividing incredibly rapidly. Having just discovered aliens, Ira runs and grabs Harry from his volleyball game, and now it's suddenly daytime. The bacteria has suddenly become multicellular, which is obviously a very big deal, and Ira says this.
Yeah, they're growing into more complex organisms. It's evolution.
He said it!
We cut randomly back to the firefighter guy who just failed his firefighter's exam. And then it immediately cuts back. I really don't know why this guy is in the movie. Ira and Harry decide to take Ira's biology class on a field trip to the asteroid, for some reason, with the intent of removing the asteroid, which they just kind of don't do. It's very clear that they're going to take it out, and they just decide not to. They do, however, discover that the air is slowly becoming hydrogen sulfide based, and all the aliens need it to breathe. That's going to come back later, remember that. Also, the cells have evolved to the point where they're now flatworms, and they grab a few of them and jam them into a jar with some air, which I guess the boys just figure will last indefinitely. They discover the worms are dividing rapidly, and they loudly discuss the existence of actual aliens, which they've just kind of taken in stride, in the middle of a busy hallway. Meanwhile, the firefighter guy works at a country club and hates his boss, and he sees worms crawling out of the ground and an amphibian-looking thing in the water tank. It is never really explained how this got into the water tank, and it is never brought up again. The next day, Ira and Harry head back to the asteroid only to find that the government has taken over, and they're using the lowest flying helicopters ever. At the gate, they get cleared for entry because apparently the superiors at the site know Ira. Also, this one soldier comes up to shoot Ira for causing apparently the worst summer of his life. That's going to come back later, remember that. It turns out that Ira used to work for the government under this general guy in Army Research. And there's also this very weird line from Harry which insinuates that he might have a ton of child porn on his computer.
All those girls in the photos are over 18.
Well, that's fun. While they're here, Julianne Moore comes up to introduce herself, and she falls and the boys see her underwear or whatever, which was a very necessary scene in the movie and doesn't just come across as creepy. Apparently the government is cutting Ira and Harry out of the research, and apparently Ira is a military disgrace. Also look, the Modern Family guy's in this, that's cool. Angrily, the boys leave the site mooning the government, or whatever, as they head out. When they get back to the university, they find out that the government has stolen all of their stuff, and in anger, they decide to take the government to court. In the very empty courtroom, the judge has just taken the confirmation that aliens exist just completely in stride. This man is barely fazed by the existence of extraterrestrial life. Unfortunately, Julianne Moore tells us that while he was in the army, Ira tried to make a new anthrax vaccine that apparently horrifically fucked up everyone who got it, which they called the Cane Madness or whatever, and I guess that soldier from earlier had it. God damn, why are we not watching that movie? Because of this, the judge rules that it's okay for the military to take their stuff or whatever. That's kind of weird, but okay. After the trial, there's a very weird conversation about how Harry thinks that Julianne Moore wants to fuck Ira.
You know she want to give you some, right?
Were you even in that courtroom?
Getting barbecued like baby back ribs? It's all foreplay, baby.
This is weird and makes me uncomfortable. But regardless, the boys decide to break into the government camp to take new samples. So they just kind of wander in, steal some hazmat suits, and go down this newly constructed elevator into the cave with the asteroid. Inside the cave, they find that the biota has changed dramatically, and just seeing these cool alien designs is easily the best part of the movie. This Carboniferous-esque foresty looking thing is really cool. The boys wander around for a while looking at cool stuff until they see an alien with a huge ass-looking structure, which according to Harry, looks like Julianne Moore, and then he makes weird sex noises to tease Ira.
Harry, stop that. We gotta get a piece of the asteroid like we came for it and cut that out. It disturbs me. Now, don't do that behind my back like that.
I'm not doing it.
Now cut it out.
Okay, I'm just walking.
This is weird and makes me uncomfortable. Fortunately, to break this incredibly creepy scene, the military see Harry and Ira in the security cameras and send Julianne Moore and some goons to go arrest them or whatever. But before the boys get executed or sent to federal prison for breaking into this place, a little mosquito-looking thing cuts into Harry's suit and goes inside Harry. This leads to a very long surgery scene where they try to remove the alien from Harry, and they do this by jamming forceps into Harry's ass and pulling it out. And this scene is weird and makes me very uncomfortable. It's supposed to be funny, and boy is it not. We then cut back to the firefighter guy, because the writers remembered he was in fact a character in this movie. He's working a nighttime event or whatever, and the manager he doesn't like goes out into the golf course to go have sex with a lady or whatever. However, this crocodile-looking thing brutally eviscerates this man, and this makes the firefighter guy very happy. We of course cut away from all this because it would be too interesting, and go back to Julianne Moore and Ira, who is apparently not arrested, and they're just gonna let him and Harry go for some reason. Also, the director forgot to plug the microphones in, but that's okay because they don't really talk about anything.
I don't get it. How does someone with your background, credentials, talent end up like you?
The next morning, they just kind of get let go, and the boys go back to the college they work at or whatever. And hey, firefighter guy decides to rejoin the story, and brings the corpse of the crocodile thing with him to show Ira and Harry. I guess the cops just let him take it? That's weird. He decides he wants to stay in the movie, and just kinda starts hanging out with Ira and Harry. We then cut to some random ladies having a little party or whatever, and they see a whole bunch of these wormy things on the ground, and then this thing comes out of the closet. The ladies think it's a dog, because they're idiots, and try to comfort it because it's suffocating, because it can't breathe the air. It of course attacks in this horrifying manner, and then promptly dies after mutilating this lady. Ira goes to Julianne Moore and tries to convince her to tell the general that he should kill all the aliens before they spread more and things get much worse. She says she will, and then Ira asks her if she could ever be attracted to him, which she weirdly seems into instead of very creeped out. I don't know why. Ira then goes to the diner to meet up with Harry and Firefighter Guy, who are currently talking about showering with Harry's volleyball team, because this movie is very horny. And then there's an incredibly weird scene where Ira's ex shows up and then just starts taking her shirt off for some reason. Harry states that multiple women have stripped for him today.
It's amazing how many women just open their shirt to him.
Which just didn't happen. Did they cut a scene? Why is this in the movie? Why is this whole scene in the movie? Also, Ira's ex had a cop with her who goes to respond to an animal attack, and the boys follow, assuming it's another alien. Of course, it's the ladies from earlier, and Harry is dripped out again. There's no reason for him to do this, but damn does it go hard. They weasel their way into the house to inspect the alien, and Firefighter Guy runs in saying the classic, "You gotta come take a look at this" line, and then he takes them outside to go see a huge field filled with dead aliens that he just found that nobody noticed, I guess? Also, Harry says this.
Great! Go!
Harry figures that the aliens are climbing through the mine shafts and caves that are all over the place, and they're spreading rapidly, but since they still can't breathe the air, they should stay mostly underground. However, right on cue, one of the dead aliens gets up, pukes out a weird sack, and immediately dies. And lo and behold, a new alien comes out of the sack, and it can breathe oxygen. Which is bad. The alien flies off towards a mall and starts terrorizing people. The boys of course follow, steal a whole bunch of guns to go and kill it. While they're doing this, the alien goes and grabs a lady who is shoplifting out of a changing room. I have no idea why, but I vividly remembered this scene. This is such an unimportant sequence, it really just stuck in my brain from when I was a kid. I have no idea why. The boys chase the alien around and somehow lose it, so in an attempt to call it, the firefighter guy just starts making bird calls into a microphone to try and attract it.
Wait. I think we've established that kaka and tuki don't work.
He really is the worst character in this movie. This obviously doesn't work, but he starts singing into the microphone, and this somehow attracts it back towards them.
You are so beautiful to me.
Wayne, would you please stop because you are embarrassing me.
Also, in this whole time, they keep calling it a bird. I don't understand this. It's clearly a dragon. Why do you keep calling it a bird? The boys somehow manage to kill it and save the girl, and then we get a couple of actually good jokes.
I'm so sorry. I promise. I swear to God, I will never shoplift again.
Good.
So what do you want? Light meat or dark?
You have to ask. Dead now. Yep.
You've actually managed to make me laugh, movie. Good job. The boys all drive around for a bit, jamming out to tunes because they just killed an alien together, and I mean, yeah, I don't blame them. I'd do the same thing. Back at the crash site, the government guys are just kind of hanging out, waiting for the state governor to show up or whatever, and oh shit, it's Dan Aykroyd. Good to see you, man. What are you doing here? Crystal Skull Vodka doesn't come out for like 7 years yet. What are you doing in this movie? Anyways, Dan Aykroyd yells at the general for not telling him about the aliens earlier, and the general decides he wants to use napalm to try and kill them. The boys show up because they want to be included in the plot, and they find out that the aliens have in fact evolved into primates. Kind of. They're taking out the cameras and jump out of the hole just to murder some soldiers, and then promptly get murdered by the firefighter guy, because the soldiers aren't main characters and can't do anything. After seeing that the aliens have very loosely become primates, Dan Aykroyd approves the general's napalm plan, and Julianne Moore decides she wants to be one of the main characters too, after not being in the movie for the last 30 minutes, and she quits working for the military to go hang out with the boys. Also, none of the main characters think that the napalm plan is a good idea, for reasons. They don't really have a reason to think it would be a bad idea, but that's okay. Also, Julianne Moore decides to bring the original samples that Harry and Ira had that the government stole from them. That's gonna come back later. The entire state is being evacuated, except for all these people partying at the college which just decide they don't want to evacuate. And all our main characters are working inside the college to try and find a better way to stop the aliens. While they're working, Harry somehow accidentally perfectly throws a match into the samples, which causes them to rapidly expand and turn into a huge blob thing, because our main characters have to be proven right on the napalm thing. They believe that the initial heat from the impact of the asteroid is what kickstarted this rapid evolution in the first place, so that's cool to actually get a reason for the aliens. The fat guys from earlier decide to join the movie again, and Ira decides to pull a solution out of his ass by looking at the periodic table on the back of Julianne Moore's shirt for all of 2 seconds. He discovers that selenium will be incredibly toxic to the aliens, for reasons. Then he just pulls the amount of selenium they'll need just out of thin air, which he believes to be 500 gallons. Somehow the fat guys have a way to get this selenium, and somehow know that the active ingredient in Head & Shoulders, yes, the shampoo, has enough selenium in it to kill the aliens somehow. I guess Head & Shoulders just really wanted to be in this movie. Our main characters, and also the 2 fat guys, somehow get a fire truck and fill it full of Head & Shoulders that they just have somehow. Does everyone in this college use this stuff, or is it more likely that Head & Shoulders just paid for this movie? It's probably that one. This is all just kind of in the span of seconds, by the way. They just kind of had this stuff. It just happens so we can get to the next scene, which is of course our main characters driving towards the asteroid site. Literally the only reason firefighter guy is in this movie is so he can drive the fire truck. Good to know he was useful. Our heroes head into the caves and just kind of start licking rocks for some reason. But however, the director decided the finale wasn't exciting enough, and the government decides to go ahead with the napalm plan early, and Dan Aykroyd shows up to watch. Things start exploding, and all the cool alien stuff starts reacting with it, because all the alien designs were just too interesting, I guess, and we have to replace them with a huge shapeless mass, because this is in fact a movie that came out in 2001. Our heroes narrowly escape before the alien blob bursts from the ground, and we get this line.
What the hell is that thing?
Napalm forced an evolutionary response, just like a match in the petri dish.
That's evolution?
Hey, that's the name of the show.
Our main characters just kind of stand around watching the alien for a while until they realize that it's starting to divide and realize, hey, we should probably do something. So they just kind of drive under it or raise the ladder, and Harry and Ira go up and jam the hose into it and just start spraying. The alien obviously doesn't like this and reacts by sucking Harry inside of it. For some reason. This is someone's fetish, I just know it. Ira just kind of pulls him out, and our heroes leave as the monster blows up. This is someone's fetish, I just know it. And so our heroes have won. Julianne Moore and Ira kiss because this is in fact a movie that was released in 2001. The general got all gooey somehow because this is in fact a movie that released in 2001. And Dan Aykroyd comes out to give them all medals. I guess he just had those ready to go, huh? He also declares the firefighter guy a real firefighter. You know, there was a reason he failed that test. You can't bypass that. You can let him retake it, sure, but you can't just award him this. There's a whole process to do it. Also, Harry looks remarkably cleaned up, despite being in a giant alien 10 seconds ago. However, before they can get their medals, Julianne Moore and Ira decide they're just too damn horny to get the medals, and leave to go have sex in the fire truck, which Dan Aykroyd is just okay with. And that's the end of the movie. It really just kind of stops right in the middle. This is a very weirdly paced movie. Except that's not the end of the movie. They put a little pre-credit scene where the boys literally just do an ad for Head & Shoulders, just to show that they did sponsor this movie. I get this is a joke, but it's very weird and caught me completely off guard. It is a good joke though. And so, that's Evolution. Honestly, I don't hate this movie. It's not good, but it's not awful. I've seen much worse movies. The best part of it is easily the alien design, especially in that carboniferous looking forest in the cave. It's really neat. The designs kind of get worse as the movie goes on, unfortunately. And man, turning the aliens into a shapeless mass is such a massive cop-out. They set up the apes as a major antagonist, and then they kind of die without doing anything. One of the fat guys says this though, and I thought that was funny. Also, this is something I didn't know how to bring up earlier, and I also only found out about it when I was almost done this video, but the music is weirdly good in this movie, and turns out it was made by John Powell, who did the How to Train Your Dragon soundtracks, as well as some of the Kung Fu Panda movies and Solo, which is fun. That man goes way too hard on the soundtrack, even when the movie is just okay. This movie cost $80 million to make, and it made $98.4 million, which isn't great. It did, however, spark an animated movie and a 26-episode long series, which I did not know existed before starting this video. It looks very weird, and I've never seen it, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that it's probably not very good, and probably has very little to do with this movie. But I think that's pretty much gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Check out the podcast I do with my brother. It's called The Boinks and CJ Civ. Very cool podcast. It's pretty good, and we upload a lot more consistently than I do here, because these videos take a very long time to make. Also, I have a bunch of social media that you should follow me on. Okay, that's it for real now. Have a good night, everyone.